No. Okay. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, May 5th. Welcome to our city council meeting, our regular ones here in City Hall. We're also broadcasting via Zoom, and we will have a recording available in a couple of days. So if you join me for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Dear Father, thank you for bringing us together here again tonight to do what's best for our city residents, our community, and please give us the wisdom to work together as a team, respecting each other's opinions and perspectives, so that we can work together to a common goal. Amen. 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 I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'll start with a roll call. Looks like this one should be pretty simple. Councilmember Darrow. Here. Councilmember Severs.
Present.
Councilmember Ball. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Dunn.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Klingler.
Here.
Councilmember Kurtz. Here. Councilmember Fisher. Here. All right. Hey, thanks everybody. It's a beautiful day. We are up to agenda approval. I know we have one request for a change, and then we'll go to any others.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I move item 12C be removed from tonight's agenda, Emergency Management Services Interlocal. There will be an additional meeting and discussion. We'd like to see that finalized before we move to approve it.
Perfect. And do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Severs. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed?
Oh, no.
Okay. Motion passes 7-0. Any other requests for changes?
Yeah, I'd like, oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on. We raise your hand so I can acknowledge you. I think I did have Councilmember Ball first, and I'll go to you. Councilmember Ball.
Sorry. Yeah, I would move to approve or to move item 11, let's see, D
Okay.
and E into general business. It won't take long.
Okay. So the motion is to move general business items D and E to under general business. We'll just add them in at the end. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Severs. Those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Do you still have a?
I basically just have a procedural question. I
Yeah.
would just like to compliment on F if I can, when that comes up. Just, I have a compliment board, some information. Do we need to move that out of the agenda?
We do have council reports before, if you want to.
I'll do
Do
that.
it then.
That'll work. Thank you.
Perfect. Councilmember Curtis.
I'd like to move 11F to general business.
Okay, motion is to move general business 11F to action items 12. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Curtis, a second by Councilmember Severs. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Just make sure you guys get close to your mics, please, tonight. Do we have any other requested changes? All right, not hearing any.
Madam Mayor, I move the agenda as amended. Excuse me.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and then a second by Councilmember Severs. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. We have an amended agenda. All right, what brings us up to citizen comments? First of all, do we have any yet in person? No? All right, so if you would like to make a citizen comment, either now or at the end, we have the white half sheets by the door over there. If you can fill one out, get it to Rochelle at the end of the table. It'll make its way over to me. If there's anybody online who'd like to make a citizen comment, please send a quick note, really quick, to our meeting hosts to let me know so I can call on you. I do know we have no written comments today. Do we have anybody online? Okay, and I'm not seeing any here in chambers, so we will have another opportunity later in the meeting if there's something that comes up you'd like to comment. Okay, we have no appointments, announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. Staff Innovation Award.
So Mayor, I'm going to invite Jen Camp up to the podium to make the presentation. But as she's doing that, just to remind the council, this is an item that we introduced a while back, and on a periodic basis, we hope to bring forward these items for you just to highlight things that are happening within the organization that really lead to innovative approaches that staff comes up with to solve problems, improve service delivery, or add value to anything that we're doing as a city that helps to serve the community better. And so with that, I'll turn the floor over to Jen.
All right, and I think we have Zach Sherman and Brandon DiPaolo online tonight. If so, could you move them so they could speak if they so choose?
Guys, we're trying to promote you to panelists, so if you see that, please accept.
3D print.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. Madam Mayor, members of the council, we'd like to recognize our two golf crew supervisors, Brandon DiPaolo and Zach Sherman. The golf course traditionally uses resin tee markers to mark the tee boxes at a cost of almost $20 per marker. Keep in mind, there are 2 tee markers at each tee position. These tee markers often need to be repainted and replaced over time as they weather and break down, and sometimes they simply disappear. Thanks to the curiosity to find a better solution and the innovative capabilities of a 3D printer, Zach and Brandon had the idea to 3D print their own custom markers. Cost for one tee marker for them to make is anywhere from $2.50 to $3 a piece. So that's times 2 for each tee box. The 3D printer they selected has the ability to print unattended and remotely, so they can basically set the print and walk away. Then they can set the print after hours and check it and make sure it's printing, be done with it. So they don't have to babysit it. So they can do it while they're doing the other tasks. Let's see. The project has led to coordination with fleet and park staff to find other ways to use 3D printing. One other solution was we had a push button door on the golf picker. The button broke and they 3D printed a button to replace it. Zach and Brandon's creativity and ingenuity has proven a success. We are so proud to recognize their accomplishments and their continued efforts to find better solutions to daily tasks. So we just want to thank them. They're online. I don't know if you have any questions for them. Passed around the samples. They actually have 4 or 5 different colors. I think there's a blue and a black. But those are some examples. And the theme, of course, at Trailhead is Sasquatch.
That's great.
So
Awesome. Great work. I want to know who the programming genius is of the pair.
It's both of them.
Great.
Yeah, they both kind of, they're addicted to this now and they're trying to find other things they can create.
I love it. No, that's
Anyway,
great. Great
thank
work,
you
you
very much.
guys.
Appreciate that.
Either one of you want to say anything? They're like, no, I'm staying off camera. We're just here to watch. No, thanks for being here off after hours, you guys. Really proud of the work you're doing, and we welcome any great ideas like this.
So if I can tell a tale, I don't want to speak for Zach, but through the course of this development, Zach stopped in my office at least 3 times to give me updates, and he was super excited each time that they found a way to refine the design or to tweak the process to make it more efficient. So they put a lot of effort into it, and you can see the result. You saw it and touched it, and this is going to have a tangible improvement at the golf course. So again, Brandon, Zach, thanks for all the effort.
Nice work. Okay, let me get back to the agenda here. All right, that's it. So we are up to reports and inquiries. City Council reports. Councilmember Fisher, since you had a comment, I'll let you go first. That's okay.
So a couple of things, Rich and I, Rich is president of Rotary, my husband.
You could get closer to the mic, please. Thank you.
So Rich is president of Rotary, and we were up in Sandpoint this weekend at a Rotary conference. And of course, everybody asks, where are you from? Where are you from? And we always say Liberty Lake. And it's so nice because people don't say, oh, where's that anymore? They know. And secondly, the second compliment we got throughout the weekend is that is such a beautiful community. So again, kudos to our beautiful city. And a couple things I want to share, and again, I'm putting on my Rotary hat here, is that Don Walker, he's a longtime resident of Liberty Lake, and he does the Hometown Hero banners that you see come up, and they're going to go up here pretty quick. On Saturday, April 23rd, we're going to have the kickoff. It's the Hometown Heroes recognition ceremony. We have quite a few folks up on the banners this year, and I'm proud to say my father is one of them. So we're going to really recognize our veterans and our heroes. Also, we have the Memorial Day pancake feed, May 25th, out at the park. And then Rich is a part of the Liberty Lake 25-year celebration. So happy to be involved and happy to participate. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Any other council comments? Councilmember Severs.
Yeah, the opportunity to attend an energy policy forum last week that was hosted by Avista, Modern Electric, Greater Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce to help put this on. Wonderful, wonderful event, very informative. And we're just saying this for public education purposes, that they highlighted some really scary potential outcomes to our current energy grid. A lot of it that's being put out by additional needs from AI and other sources, but we're very lucky in our area to have a lot of hydropower. Hydropower is sort of tapped out. The rivers don't flow higher ever. So there's a major need to fill that gap. Wind is used, solar is used, but they can only be used when the sun's shining and when the wind's blowing, so they don't work all year. So natural gas is a big, very, very important part of this. Some interesting things came about from state policies. So some of the data that they were putting out there said, we need to increase the amount of energy that we're putting into our system, or electricity we're putting into our system, by about 50% over the next 5 years. But in order for, this was a quote from Modern Electric's CEO, in order for us to put in a new substation, it takes us 7 years to get through permitting with the state. So our hands are really being tied by state legislature, and luckily they're hopefully catching up. But I just want to bring this up to talk to your state reps, or just be aware of this. If we don't do this, our residents could be facing rolling blackouts in 5 or 6 years. This is a very real issue. And 2, when our energy grid can't keep up, especially during extreme peak times around January, when it gets the coldest around here, people can't heat their homes. That's a major safety risk. I'll put it that way. So just very informative. I just encourage people to stay informed or get informed on this issue, and talk to your state reps to try to help fix this problem. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Ball, I believe you're next.
So last week I chaired my first meeting of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. And there we had a quorum. There was 3 of us, and quite a few people in the gallery. And it was very nerve-wracking for me because we had more asks than we have money. So between the 3 of us, we hammered it out, and I'm sure you guys have read it. And I just want you to know, we did our very best to make it fair to everybody, but we wanted to have money left over. So in case this turns out to be a bad year for additional lodging tax, that we have money for next year. But yeah, just the one gentleman, David Himbaugh, was on on virtual. So it was just Shannon and I sitting up here. She's from LTAC, and we were both just pounding furiously on our calculators, trying to, figure it out and make it fair. But I was pretty happy. I think we did pretty good. When the meeting was adjourned, I thought, oh, well, a couple of them are going to come up here and hit me because they didn't get all the money they wanted. But they were very kind and very gracious and thankful. So that's it.
Super. Great. Thank you for doing that, and congratulations on getting through your first one. All right. Any other council reports? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, last Wednesday, the STA Board of Directors voted to put the 2/10 renewal onto the August ballot. This is a renewal measure to fund STA transit in our community at the same rate that it has for the past 15 years. The renewal was also voted to include a 20-year sunset clause, so that the community will have a chance to reconsider that after 20 years. It puts a little bit of an onus on the agency to demonstrate and prove that the money's being used effectively. I voted, I'm not a voting member, but I encouraged our small cities voting member to vote in approval of Lance Spears. He's actually the board chair right now, in that the agency has a lot of really important federal grants that if there were to be a suspend or a pause of funding, it would reflect it poorly and potentially eliminate federal grants that are currently in process. So I'm happy to report that the people have an ability to vote in August for Sound Transit or Spokane Transit. Excuse me.
I've been spending too much time on the west side.
Yeah.
All right. Any other council reports? Councilmember Kurtz, this is
Um,
great tonight.
Mine's not necessarily a report, but we had the town hall, was it last week?
Yes.
This week?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it was a lot long ago, but it was really nice to see so many people there. I think it was our most well-attended town hall.
It was.
It was very nice to see all the youth that were there and to hear from them. And I would love to hear more from you on other topics that we have coming up. The other thing related to youth is that there are theater performances. TAC has Shrek going on, and Ridgeline has Seussical, which is quite amazing if you haven't been. It's a great way to support local youth who live here with us too. So they would love to see you at the shows.
Great. Thank you. All right, anybody else, since we've got almost everybody today? No? All right, I'll jump in real quick to my mayor's report. I'm going to start off. I don't know if anybody has seen the article in this month's Splash. The Ridgeline dance team won the 3A state championship this year. This is only the third year of the program. I won't read the article to you. It was very well done. But congratulations to the girls. I just found this out when the paper came out, or else I would have tried to have some of them here. Maybe we'll try. I've been not here for the next meeting. Maybe I'd like to recognize them somehow if we can get some of them to come. So that was really exciting news. Ridgeline has been doing well in those type of things and their sports and just all around. So really glad to see them excelling in their first 4 years in existence. Farmers market. So we've had some more signups. So thank you. Since a lot of you are new to the market, or it has been almost been all through the winter. So just always give a quick recap of kind of how everything goes over there and who's kind of responsible for what. So we've got the sign up sheet online. You've probably seen it. We have 2 slots in the morning shift from 9 to 11, and then 2 spots for the 11 to 1. We really have room for 2 of us, whoever of the 8 of us here, usually a CEC member, and then there's usually room for like an invited guest, whether it's the library, friends of the library, talking about the soiree or whatever. But there is a sign up for that because the tent looks fairly big. It gets crowded when there's 4 or more people there, and people come in and they're looking at the maps, and so we just don't like to get it too crowded. So if you can sign up for that, even if it's 2 hours at a time. My intention was to be there the first 2 weeks, but I'm going to be out of town the first weekend. So just in general, when you get there, the tent will be set up. Jen's crew knows where everything goes. It will have a black and yellow tote with everything in it, 2 tables and some chairs. I'll email everybody as kind of like a sketch of kind of how it's been set up in the past. There are stretchy tablecloths now in the bins, so we don't have to worry about them blowing away. There's a couple different sizes, so you may have to trial and error some of them because we've had some different size tables. There should be some display things so we can put in some of the handouts that we have. Visit Spokane guides. I think we have the new one, so I'll make sure before opening day that the bin has all the current information in it. So I usually fill it with, handouts, the Visit Spokane guide. There's biking information. There's stuff on the library. There's all kinds of handouts there. We also will have usually some laminated posters that we will hang up. There should be tape and pens and all that stuff in that tote for upcoming movies and events and things like that. And as the summer goes along, there will be more things. Usually there's things, about summer camps and other local things going on. Try to leave 1/2 of the tent to the CEC or whoever our other guest is. And so like I said, when you get there, tent will be up, the tables will be there, the tote will be there. It's your job to set up. And then whoever's there at the end to take everything down, put it back in the bin. The crew will come back. They will put the tables away, the chairs away. They'll take down the tent and store it as we usually do. For those of you setting up, it's really great to maybe get there about 8:30 because people start showing up, and I've been still setting up at like 9:15 because people come in and they start talking, and so I can't set up with in 30 minutes usually because there's people stopping by, which is great. But if you could come a little bit early, and if it's slow on the last shift, most of the time we're starting to close up about 1:45. Just kind of use your gut feel. We're all adults. We can figure that out. But I'll make sure the bin is updated. Jen, I'll just have to make sure I know where it is. I'm not quite sure where it is right now. And then we'll just make sure everything is in there every week. So I will be there the 3rd week. But if you can go in, put your name down for a couple weeks. You don't have to look out the whole summer. But we do like to have at least one of us there each shift at a minimum. And if you're signed up and you can't make it, if you can look at the list, and hope we all have each other's cell phone numbers. If not, if we can get that list back out, maybe it's good to send it out anyway. So we all know how to get in touch with each other to let somebody know. And I'm usually around Saturday morning, so if I'm not signed up, someone wants to call me, I can always slap on a hat and come over. So I'll send out more information, but I just want to get that out there for everybody, because I know in the past, people have shown up and well, who's responsible for what? So I figured I'd just cover it tonight. The GSI legislative update was last week. It was interesting. We had 4 of our legislators up there. Suzanne Schmidt, who is not returning because as she's running for county commissioner. Tim.
Ormsby?
Yes, he's retiring. And then we also had a new representative, Hunter Abel from I think the 7th. This was his first stint as a representative, and Senator Riccelli was there as well. So it was interesting. I try to go to this every year, but I'll be honest, and yeah, I know this will be out there for the public, but I didn't really see a whole lot of new information from the meeting. We got a little bit of their perspective on what comes next, but I'm hoping for more meat and potatoes next year when they do it, to be honest. So several of us have discussed that, and so we'll be feeding that back to GSI. Tomorrow morning, I take off for Wenatchee for a day. The AWC Mayor as CEO meeting is tomorrow at noon, and the SRTC monthly board meeting is coming up next week, and I have not looked out much farther than that. So I will turn this over to Mark for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council and the guests that we have joining us both in the chamber and online, just a few reminders to bring to your attention. It is, and I think Shane is going to pull up a handy guide for us to go by. It is Public Service Recognition Week. This is something that comes about every year in May, or the first week in May. And so we're in it now, and I just wanted to use it as an opportunity to remind everyone, especially we're into spring, getting into summer, we're having our community events rev back up. Obviously, our golf course maintenance and park maintenance and street maintenance and all of our maintenance activities are ongoing. And when you see folks out, especially working on the street or in the right of way or in public spaces, those aren't the easiest tasks to perform, as we were all reminded of today and are reminded often. These folks are putting everything on the line to make sure that the community not only is aesthetically pleasing, but in the police department's from the police department's perspective, making sure that the community is safe and that we're responding to calls and all of those kinds of things. So just another opportunity to tell all of the people that come to work on a daily basis and make Liberty Lake a great community. Thank you, both individually and as a unit. And then also to point out for anyone who just heard what I said and said, I want to be part of that. We have 3 current openings. And so if you're interested in joining the team at the City of Liberty Lake, I encourage you to get onto our website, navigate it to our careers page, and check out the current job openings that are there. And if anything interests you, consider applying. Moving on, the mayor mentioned the farmers market. Sorry, I skipped the public safety awards. The public safety awards are upcoming on May 14th. That is Thursday of next week. And this is an annual event that gives the community an opportunity to specifically look at public safety organizations and the good work that they're doing. And that takes place over at the Center Place Event Center in Spokane Valley, hosted by the Greater Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce. And so registration is still open. If you're interested in checking that out, I would encourage you to register for that. If you need help doing that, Cody Melnick or Rochelle can help get you set up. Farmers Market, Mayor mentioned that. I'm not going to spend too much time other than to say it kicks back off on Saturday, May 16th, and we all look forward to getting out there and spending time at that event. It's a great way to get out and spend time interacting with neighbors every year. May is also National Wildlife Awareness Month. And so we've talked a lot about disaster preparedness and hazard mitigation. I want to point out the opportunity to plug into a specific conversation about wildlife and forestry safety. There's a fair that is specifically designed to cover those topics on Saturday, May 16th. up at the fire station number 41 in Deer Park, starting at 10 a.m. And this is just really a group of folks that represent different fire districts, the conservation district, different woodland and fire safety organizations to give you essentially tips about how to protect your home, how to protect other assets in the community. And so going along with National Wildlife Awareness Month, this is something that is open to the public. And if you're interested in that, we would encourage you to consider attending. And then a little bit downstream, and I wanted to point this out, it's still quite a ways away. The Association of Washington Cities Annual Conference. It's in Spokane this year. I know many of you have already registered, and I just wanted to point out that this is coming up because if you would like to attend, you can register for the whole conference. You can also register for single day portions of it. So if you have a scheduling conflict that prevents you from going to the whole thing, consider maybe going to one of the days, and we can help get you registered if you want to do that. Before I move on to the reports, are there any questions about any of those items?
Just a quick note on the conference for those of you working towards your AWC Certificate of Municipal Leadership. That does get you 10 credits toward that. I know some of you are in the process. Some already have it. Some are very, very close, but they did change over the last couple of years. I'm on the education committee now, so this was news to me that they did change a couple of years ago. The number of credits you need in each area of study. It doesn't take anything away from those of us who have earned it, but those who are close may go in and see that they have, say, more than the 30 credits needed for the first level of certification, but all of those categories have not been met yet. A lot of those should be able to be fulfilled by doing one or however many required classes through their virtual learning.
Good point, because that's important, especially if you're pursuing that. Any other questions about these before we move on? All right, so I want to update you on the results dashboard. I emailed this out to you a while ago. This is something that we've started. We update this quarterly. This is essentially the return on investment portion of our priority-based budgeting and strategic plan. And so, Shane, if you go to the next page, we're not going to go through the whole thing here. I just wanted to kind of show you an example of what this thing looks like. So if you want to know, what am I going to see if I go onto the website and click on the results dashboard? So you get a sense of, from a program by program perspective, and a program is essentially a set of services that we deliver. You get a sense of what the budget is for not only the current year, but the previous year, the number of FTEs that are specifically allocated to support that program, and then some results and metrics. And you can see here on the street maintenance side, and I've chosen that for a reason that I'll let you know in just a minute. You see some of these things that we've been talking about as we've briefed you on the pavement master plan and the 20-year capital facilities plan. We're using this condition index. The pavement condition index is going to become a key metric for us over time, so that in an aggregate way, we can essentially measure the condition of the streets in the city. And you see in 2025, it sits there at 77. And so that's a key one to look at, because what we're going to be able to do is see how the things that we do on an annual basis affect that number. You remember, as it goes up, that's good. As it goes down, that's bad. And moving on, another way to express that result, which is that the condition of the streets meets the established standard, as we look at the amount of investment that we're putting into our streets network each year, both in terms of routine maintenance and in terms of capital improvements. And you see that for both 24 and 25. This is a metric that is recorded at the end of the year, so you won't see 26 show up until the end of 26. Some of the numbers we report at the beginning of the year, like survey results, so you'll see a 26 number now. The other thing that I wanted to point out is the metric that reflects the number of essentially requests we get for service relating to street repairs or maintenance of the street. And you can see that over the last 5 quarters, we had a dip and then a resurgence there in the number per quarter that we get. And then the important thing to notice is over there on the right, in 98% of those cases, we're handling those requests within the service level agreement that we've set, which is essentially 48 hours. The reason that I wanted to point that out is because right now, in an ongoing way with our street maintenance program, we have some chip sealing that's happening out on Broadway, and some of you may have seen the post that the Public Works Department made on social media about that. And another sort of regular comment that we've been seeing and that I want to address is that in the upcoming weeks, you will see some cold patching repairs done along Moulter, specifically between Mission and Country Vista to handle some of those potholes that have occurred there. And so if you're looking for the best way to tell us about items that you're seeing out in the community that you want us to look at and repair, make a request is the best way to do that. Like I said, we've set a standard for ourselves of addressing those items in 48 hours. And you can see that we're handling those 98% of the time within that. Now, I want to qualify that. If it's something that requires a major repair, the major repair portion of it may take longer than 48 hours. If it's an immediate fix, we're going to do that. But just understand that that's a condition of this. We don't necessarily make major repairs on site, but we put them into a work order and we get back to them. Any questions about the results dashboard? Currently, we have most of our most and more aligned programs represented. The plan is to have all of our most and more aligned programs represented this year so that we can give the community a sense of what they're getting for the investment that they put into these programs through the budget. Any questions about that? Seeing none, Shane, if you'll back up to the report, I'll go to the last item, and that's just to give you a quick update on the Safe and Healthy Spokane process. Just as a reminder, the task force, the Safe and Healthy Spokane Task Force, was put together essentially to develop this regional vision and implementation plan to address sort of the ongoing challenges of mental health, criminal justice, emergency response, and public safety across Spokane County. So the task force has met multiple times. They put together advisory committees. I was able to sit on one of the advisory committees. We've completed our work. And so what that means is the task force is going to meet again to consider all of the recommendations that the various advisory committees have settled on May 7th, the day after tomorrow, to adopt those into a formal set of recommendations that will then go out to all of the communities. So in fairly short order after that, so I would expect probably in the second or third week of May, we're going to get a schedule of the task force going out and briefing elected bodies across the county as to what these recommendations are and what their next steps are. So we will get that scheduled when we know what that is and when the task force will be in front of this council to provide the briefing. But I wanted to give you kind of a preliminary update to know that that's coming. And those are scheduled to occur throughout the county between now and say the first week in June. So it'll be fairly quick. Any questions about that one? All right. So Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, Planning Commission. Welcome, Abby.
Good evening, Council. I think Shane is pulling up my presentation, so we'll wait for him to get that up. Awesome. It's great to see you all tonight. For those who may be watching on Zoom and don't know me yet, my name is Abby Sprague, and I'm here on behalf of the Planning Commission to present a brief overview of the 2026 through 2046 comprehensive plan that we have been very busy working on. Being the newest member, I suppose they decided to do a trial by fire, but I'm here and Amy's in the audience to answer questions, and I also saw Tom back there. Let's jump right into it. Can we go to the next slide, please? I first wanted to walk you all through the general topics of the proposed plan and give you an overview of what's inside each of these topics. Let's start with cultural and historical resources. This element focuses on Liberty Lake's history, the identifying and evaluating of historical sites, as well as acknowledging cultural resources within city limits. Next, we have climate and natural resources. This element focuses on adapting to climate impacts, shoreline and storm managements, though we don't have shoreline, we do have flood zones, as well as carbon reduction goals, which is going to be important later in my presentation. Next, there is urban design, which focuses on establishing goals and policies that will guide pattern of development and redevelopment throughout the city. Next up, housing and community services, which focuses on affordable housing strategies, housing supply and variety, and general community services such as transportation and shelter. Next is land use. This element details zoning regulations, future land patterns, and community character and feel. Then there is transportation. This element details how Liberty Lake will develop, manage, and maintain its multimodal transportation system to support future growth, enhance connectivity, and ensure safe, efficient travel for both residents and visitors alike. Next, we have utilities, public facilities, and services. This addresses the future need for electrical, natural gas, and telecommunication lines, as well as reliable water and sewer, energy efficiency, and the modernization of overall infrastructure. Next, economic development. This element overviews career and employment growth, local business support, and economic vitality. Parks and recreation. This details Liberty Lake's plan for accessible parks, as well as leisure facilities for residents. And last but definitely not least, our comprehensive or our capital facilities plan, which focuses on public infrastructure investments, long-term planning, and the funding of essential services. This is almost identical to what we have in our current plan, besides a combining of a couple elements, those being community and human services with housing to create housing and community services, and then utilities with essential public facilities to create utilities, public facilities, and services. Our current plan has 14 elements and our proposed plan has 12. Does anyone have any questions about the large aspects of the plan before moving forward? All right, next slide. All right, we are now going to shift focus onto the biggest changes and the biggest additions from the previous plan. Let's begin with the biggest changes. As the slide shows, state laws and mandates have driven many of our discussions and revisions the past few months, and not just for housing, though that is a very large one. We also underwent an effort to update our master plans within transportation. These include both the sidewalk and pavement master plans. Overall, the transportation element of our current plan is 8 pages, but in our new draft, it is over 40 pages long. This is mostly due to the inclusion of maps and visuals. Lastly, staff and the Planning Commission worked hard to make language overall more accessible and focused with less legalese where possible. We did this with the goal that every citizen will have easy access when they read. The structure of each element was also reworked by putting the applicable goals and policy related to each in the actual element instead of having a whole chapter dedicated to that at the beginning. Does anyone have any questions about the biggest changes from the previous plan? All right, next slide. This one seems really simple and the slide is a little sad, but it is not a small addition. The biggest addition from the previous plan also comes from new state laws and mandates and falls within our Climate and Natural Resource chapter. This addition is coming directly from New Growth Management Act revision, a new Growth Management Act revision and requirement that we need to follow in regards to greenhouse gas emissions and planning. Any questions on this? All right, next slide. I know that was a quick overview, and if there are any citizens watching online that want to know more, please come visit a Planning Commission meeting. We'd be happy to give you more details. The Planning Commission is proud of the work that we have done on this plan, and we want to thank all the staff that have worked very hard with us on it. Thank you for your time tonight, and if there are no other questions, that is the end of my presentation.
Anybody? Mark has one.
Abby, when is your next planning commission meeting? If somebody does want to come and join it?
May 13th at 4 p.m.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mark.
Mayor Pro Tem.
When will the revised comprehensive plan be available to the council for consideration?
May 19th.
Great. And then we as a city then submit that for consideration by an authority. Is it Commerce or?
Yeah, it needs, I know it definitely needs to go to SRTC. We're reviewing Millwoods for the first time next week. Yeah.
Great. I just am grateful for the work of the Planning Commission. In my opinion, our comp plan is at the base of all of the statutes and codes that the city presents. We hopefully can look to every one of the ordinances and resolutions we produce and point to something within the comp plan which is being lived out in that action. So it's important stuff, and thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the
Thanks, Abby.
hard work,
Thank you.
everybody. Okay, all right. Okay, next up, workshop discussions. Next up is the 2026 Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Trails Plan. Hi, Jen.
Hello again.
You've got a nice handout here at your desk.
Yes, I was just gonna point that out. So, wait, well, Shane loads my presentation. We had these printed and gave you each a copy of the executive summary. This is a high level version of the 379 page Parks Plan document. I didn't want to print 379 booklets. Within that, I did print a page that does come out of that 379 page document that kind of enlightens some detail on level of service. Oh, no, wait, I left that one out. This is the capital improvement project table. So, the table in my slide wasn't super informative. So I thought that this was worthy of printing out so that you could have it to refer to when I hit that slide. So this is, I guess, to what Abby was talking about. This is a portion of the comprehensive plan, the Parks and Recreation, Open Space and Trails executive summary. Next slide, please. So this is just the two slides that show the amount of time. This started clear back last year, about this time. And we just wrapped up in early April. So it was a year-long process. Next slide, please. It was broken up into two phases. The last slide was phase 1. This slide is phase 2. The last meeting and final meeting to address everything was April 6th with the Parks and Arts Commission, where they reviewed everything and voted to send it forward to council for their consideration. Next slide, please. So during the process, we reevaluated the vision, and it was mission and vision, but we ended up settling on a vision and values. We had a shorter statement, and those on the Parks and Arts Commission felt like they wanted a longer, more lengthy, detailed description. And so we have two. One that's quick and easy, and one that really details the priorities that the commission believes in and that the city can back. Next slide, please. So these also are all in the executive summary document that you have in front of you. I'm not going to spend too much time on these. If you do want more detail, there is a lot more detail on each of these slides and these, I'll call them elements of the Parks Plan that you can look into. The Parks Plan is online. It also, I believe, was uploaded to your packet for your review. So we'll just kind of hit these. I'm going to focus on the last 3 slides. Next slide, please. It focused on what our current inventory is. The last time we had a Parks Plan update was 2015. So it had been quite a few years and a lot of things have changed since then. So it was definitely time to update our Parks Plan with the inventory. Next slide, please. Same with facilities and amenities. We've added on so much since then that is a fairly significant update. Next slide, please. Public outreach and engagement. We had a lot of engagement through this process that started last summer, went into late fall, and then into early this year. It was everything from surveys online to interacting at community events, to farmers market, to pop-up events at the grocery store. They went to Liberty Launch Academy. A really, really good variety of in-house, in-town, on-site events to get opinions and responses to questions. Next slide, please. Through this, they identified through the community engagement, some priorities, aquatic facilities. We heard that more than anything, the desire for aquatic facilities, how important our trails and connectivity are. Playgrounds and family amenities in our parks really matter. They make a difference. And of course, from staff's perspective, maintaining everything is our number one priority. Maintain it, maintain it, maintain it. So those are fairly important keys to this element. Next slide, please. So this is where I'm going to focus on the last slides. This ties into the level of service. We reassessed and regrouped, and currently we have a strong level of service as far as acres per resident. However, in 20 years, we incorporated the CIP into this, which is also this printout right here that you see. In 20 years, the one category that will be unmet is our community parks. And community parks are our large parks. That's Orchard Park, Town Square Park, Rocky Hill Park. So there will need to be some consideration to do something to add more acreage in this, in the event of a community park sized situation. And I do believe that is in the CIP as well. I think it's on our, if you look at this page, it's on the back page under long-term maintenance and aspirational projects, you'll see a community park added in there. And that's at the 12-year mark out to 20 years. Next slide, please. Element goals and objectives. This slide is really similar to the last one. Next slide, please. The CIP identifies basically from 1 to, the parks plan identifies it as 1 to 6, 6 to 12, and 12 to 20 years out. That's what this table is. It's very interesting. It's maybe something to have on hand when we go through budget season. It can help support some of the budgeting items that we may come to you with as staff through the budgeting process this next fall. Next slide, please. Okay, so when I first started this process, I hadn't done this before. This was a new environment for me to be in. And I kept saying, why are we doing this? Well, it's a requirement. It's part of the comprehensive plan. Okay, sure, I can buy that. But as I went through it and I learned that it updates the current inventory, it identifies gaps that we have, that we as staff know we have, but it's never really been put out there and labeled. And so this tidies it all up, brings all the data in, compiles it, and says, oh, you have a gap here, or you need this there, or the community is avidly supportive of this back here. And then I think the greatest part of it has been the community engagement opportunities. We don't always get to see a lot of direct engagement and feedback from people talking about our parks as staff, especially as park staff. What we hear is either a concern that something isn't mowed right or watered right or painted right, or we hear, a need for a swing, or we have, we don't get to really engage beyond that level of conversation. There was a lot of that in this document, and it was all recorded in that 379 pages. So if you want some evening reading, you can go through to see what our residents think about our parks. And there are some very informing comments that really enlighten this whole plan and will help support our budget process as we come to you this fall. Next slide, please. So then what are next steps? Next steps. Oh, and go back a slide, please. The one thing I meant to point out was one of the other reasons we need this is for RCO grants. RCO is the Recreation Conservation Office in Olympia. It's a state agency that is allotted a set amount of funding every year. And every 2 years, they go through a grant funding process. Rocky Hill is an RCO grant funded park. Pavilion Park is a grant funded park. Orchard Park is not. We did not qualify for that. Town Square was attempted way back in the day. They attempted to qualify for a grant there and we were unsuccessful. It is a highly competitive process. Usually there are about 60 communities that apply for this grant every 2 years. And I think that's about where they're at right now. So we're starting the process now with the application. We can't apply for a grant if our parks plan is out of date. It has to be compliant and it has to be updated every 6 years. So we are compliant now. We are able to apply for RCO grants. There aren't, believe it or not, a lot of grant opportunities out there for parks. I thought there would be a ton, and there are not. RCO is the big one in Washington State to fund playgrounds, parks, anything to do with development or acquisition. So next slide, please. The final review, I said, was April 6th. Parks and Arts did vote to support this, to bring to you for consideration. Next steps, City Council. This is the update. If you have questions, feel free to ask. What I would say is the first read ordinance is on the agenda this evening, and the plan is to bring the second read back on May 19th, which will give you time between now and that time to kind of review the document, come up with any questions you might have, not have it be rushed. And then it will eventually be integrated within the comprehensive plan. Next slide. So the second part of next steps. We hadn't really anticipated looking into an RCO grant, and there are many reasons for that are unimportant now. But with all of this happening, and we asked SCJ Alliance to heavily focus on the Pavilion Park playground renovation. That playground is in desperate need of repair, and we have an opportunity to make it better. Ever since I've been here, I've heard we need swings, we need more amenities, we need something for the tots, because that play structure is only for the 5 to 12s. It's not for the 2 to 5s. Lots of changes should happen, need to happen. The community has voiced their opinions in the plan that they want that to happen. And currently we have budgeted in the CIP just a replacement like in kind to replace the existing play structure to the tune of about $250,000 to $300,000. So we have that option to do that. It is budgeted already in the CIP for next year. However, the question comes that, do we apply for an RCO grant? They have matching grants up to $500,000. Do we renovate the playground while we're there? It's a 20 to 30 year last. It's not something that we're gonna have to replace anytime soon. Do we do it right? We've heard the community speak again, that they want a better playground, more opportunities, more amenities. We have an opportunity to tie the history of the park and the history of Pavilion, the history of the lake into a playground, make it really just the heartbeat of that park. So as we kind of got further in closing out the parks plan process, I started investigating the RCO grant process and bounced it off Mark, and we decided, why not give it a try? So I've begun the process. Next steps will be, they need to have the updated parks plan, which they have, and they have it certified and ready to go, which is already done. They need to have an application by staff, which I filled out and clicked submit on April 30th. The next steps are technical review, which is a 12-minute presentation to them, which will happen next Tuesday at 9:20. And it's a test run to go through your presentation with them. They critique you. The other step that has to happen is they require an application by resolution. It's called an RCO grant application by resolution that I need to bring forth to you. So my goal is, in a perfect world, the second read ordinance would happen next May 19th. And then following that would be the resolution for the RCO grant application. And all that does is shows that the council is aware of what's happening with staff, that we are trying to pursue this grant and that you support it. So even though I've begun the process, I won't formally do the last grant presentation until August, the end of August. So highly competitive. I don't know if we would get it, but we have a heck of a presentation ready to go. So, next slide. That's it in a big nutshell. Do you have any questions? Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Jen, did I understand that letters of recommendation are compelling regarding the RCO application?
Yes, and we have several.
Mhm.
Yes.
Tell a little bit more about who can or who should participate in presenting a letter of recommendation.
So we sent emails out to various groups and received letters of recommendation from the Kiwanis, the Hub, the Parks and Arts Commission, and the Spokane County Parks and Rec Director. And I think there was one more. And so those are basically the goal is to tell a very compelling story in this presentation. And I firmly believe we can do that. This park has a huge story to tell. So I think with that and the people who we received letters from who operate out of that park and partake in that park with their events, I think those letters are going to be very powerful. And I have a really good teacher who's helping me get through this grant process. I'm learning a lot. And she is all for getting those letters put in there. So we have one slide that just shows all the letters on the slide, and I'll speak to those letters of support and how powerful that park is to this community. So
Is it too late to get more?
if I could get one by tomorrow morning, I'm going to upload.
Well, I was saying, have you
We're gonna
talked to Greenstone Foundation?
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
got one from Joe Frank. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
And I was
did.
wondering if you needed one from any of our state reps, I can make a call.
Potentially. I mean, I could hold off uploading until Friday.
Okay, well, I'm on the road in the morning, so I'll make a couple of calls. If you can shoot me
Yeah.
what you might need in,
Yeah, I have a template.
oh, perfect.
Yes.
Shoot it over to me
Okay.
and I'll get it out.
I will
No
do that.
guarantees, but I'll try.
I will do that. And the really cool part about Joe Frank and Greenstone, we have this kiosk that the Parks and Arts Commission is going to be installing at Pavilion Park, and it shows the history of the park and where everything came from and why. And there's a little block of information on there that says Greenstone developers were implementing the installation of the park back in 1996, and they did all of the construction at no cost to help get this park built. And so I thought that's the perfect story right there. And I'm going to point that out, that they are still very supportive of that
Yeah.
park because they were instrumental in building that park, literally building that park. So
Nice.
yeah,
All right.
anything to help add to that power of that presentation.
Okay, I think I saw Councilmember Fisher's hand.
I was just noticing on your annual visits, you've got over 533,000. How do you count that?
So that data came from Placer AI.
It did.
And I don't understand it. That's a Mikkel thing and a Mark thing. So it's software that somehow tallies.
It basically allows us to get representations of foot traffic to certain locations, and that's where we got the data.
Yeah, and it's only, I think it starts just a couple of years ago. It's dated, I think, on there only for the past couple of years because it just came into play. We don't have the history beyond a couple of years, but we'll continue to build that. And it is a very popular park.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right. Councilmember Ball.
What does it stand for again? RC Recreation?
Recreation Conservation Office,
Okay, and it's state.
state agency. Yep.
Okay. So I do have some questions because I did read through quite a bit of it. Full development of Town Park Square. So are you talking about making the entire parcel a park? Because there's that 4.55 acres, it's not part of,
If what we're talking about is if it were turned into a park, the whole thing, then, the acreage would contribute to our level of service numbers. We don't know what that's going to be. It could end up being, half of that empty space could be a park space, a quarter of it could be park space. We don't know what that's going to be. We're just trying to anticipate if that whole space were to be turned into a park, then that's where the acreage would fit into the level of service.
that's required for build out?
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the ball fields, where's the concession? I looked at that map. I've never seen a concession there. It mentions concession
It does on the ball fields?
Yeah.
No, that's a typo.
Okay, and then individual sports was mentioned too, like creating more individual sports.
For programming?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what were you thinking?
Well, it's the internal programming that Mikkel is working on, anything that he can, he's, for example, looking at developing a taught soccer program. That's an in-house staff-led program.
Oh, okay. And let's see. Okay, and also it seemed to be, it echoed a lot about there's no senior or teen programs. Yeah. is
Yep, there was,
Mikkel-
we heard a desire for that. Yes,
Yeah.
Mikkel has thoughts and grand plans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then also throughout this whole thing, though, I was just, kind of shocking to me, but it sure sounds like people want a pool.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
heard that
Mhm.
over and over again.
And the third one on here, playground shade structures.
Mhm.
I think that's very
Mhm.
important because if you're at Orchard Park, I have my grandson there, doing the water thing and it's boiling outside,
Mhm.
you're just standing there boiling.
Yeah, we did hear that people love the addition of the shade structure up to Rocky Hill, and that we need one at Pavilion and we need one at Orchard.
Yeah, okay. So those were just some of my observations, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought, oh my God, this thing's long and it's getting close to, But yeah, incredible report. Yeah,
Right.
thanks.
Anybody else? Councilmember Kurtz.
First, I'm excited that you're excited about the park.
Yeah.
And that you moved from like the idea of like, what are we doing with this to the whole plan. And I'm excited about the opportunity of the grant and everything. And I hope it goes well. I'm also excited we have more time to read through it because I read through it, but there was so much information. There was like, I want to read this again because I was frantically scribbling notes and noticed the part about the pool too. And that was, we've heard that before. So we need to align some things with that, if that's what the community is asking for and see what we can do, which was on another document that we had at our desk. I had a question though on, it was in here and it was in another map too, but it was on page 4. And I don't know if this is for you, Jen, or for Amy. But there's a spot here and it's an open space, but it looks like it's where like the landfill is. The old landfill. Legacy Ridge, in between the Legacy West and Legacy Ridge. And I have questions about like, what makes it an open space? Because it's fenced off, nobody can use, I mean, I see it's open. But it's not a park.
Like it's open space. And I think we had that discussion and Mr. Sahlberg can help me weigh in if need be. We had a joint meeting, the Parks and Arts Commission
Okay.
had a joint meeting with the Planning Commission and these discussions happened.
Okay.
I'll describe it in the best way I can without butchering it, but open space, it's public space, even though it's in a private development. So there was some back and forth on whether that should be considered or not. We all ended up agreeing it should be considered. Does that answer your question?
Well, I want to make sure we're talking about the right spot, because I'm talking about the spot that has like the methane pipes coming out, like nobody can go there. It's not just that it's like the county's space. And I'm hoping I'm not reading the map. wrong.
The old super fund.
It's just
site.
a fun site.
I have to research that. I don't, yeah.
Where is?
I don't even know what it is right. What's
Big
up there
green
right now?
blob on the
shoe?
I mean, I feel like it used
Is
to
it
be-
grass?
It's
Sort of.
wild grass.
I mean, it could be considered an open space if it's, do people let their dogs run up? there?
They
No.
can't, it's like.
You said it's all
fenced
fenced
off and
off.
it's methane gas.
So
coming out
that
of it,
could
yeah.
be something that we
Yeah.
want to reevaluate. Would you agree? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There is some of that down here kind of connected to it that is actually usable.
And then there's like, I think the part that you're talking about that's like Parkside Park. which
Yeah.
is usable.
Yeah.
And I hear you
Okay.
saying, but like I don't think the super fun, in my opinion.
I haven't been up there. I didn't even know that was up there. So
Behind a
my
fence,
apologies.
consider it the open space.
Yeah, so page 53 of the larger report in our packet shows the difference between the like army green and the brownish maroon.
Oh, it does. So it does show
One
the-
says the green, the army green says open space, and that's the
Okay.
spot that
Okay.
he's talking
Yeah,
about.
well, then it should probably not be on there. So we'll deduct that square footage off the level of service number.
Maybe it'll help somewhere else though, right? Yeah.
I know I've had people ask me if we can turn that into a dog park. Councilmember, hold on, before we get back to you, Councilmember Ball, we've got a couple people who haven't spoken. Councilmember Klingler, anything?
No.
Councilmember Darrow, Councilmember
Thank you.
Sears? Nope. Okay, Councilmember Ball, you're back on.
So then, okay, so this little blob just below what looks like a boot, that's fair game. That could be used as a park. But the boot is the super fun.
I don't know
And
what you're
it-
talking about, a booth.
It does look like a boot.
Yeah, but I mean,
Victorian
is it
boot.
just gonna be like that forever? Is there a way to?
That's a
I mean,
EP
that's the
thing.
yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen that, so I'm not familiar with the site.
It wouldn't be on in our lifetime would be my guess.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
See any, thanks. Great
Okay.
work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay. Sidewalk master plan.
Good evening, everyone. Waiting for Shane to pull up the presentation. So you guys, some on the council may remember that we brought this topic up in October of last year. We had our first workshop where we kind of presented the problem. Sue, our code enforcement person, worked diligently on a white paper that kind of outlined some of the impacts and some of the issues that are happening. Since then, we worked with our consultant and we worked with a stakeholder group of community members and other interested parties and staff to develop the report that was included in your packet. So now I will let Sharifa with SCJ Alliance kind of outline the work that we've done so far, and then we'll work into what we are asking from you tonight.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So we'll be talking about the sidewalk master plan today. The presentation will be broken down into the scope and milestones that we've covered so far. Then we'll go into the existing conditions of sidewalks in the city. We'll talk about the exercise of identifying repair criteria, and based on those criteria, we created a prioritization matrix. So we'll walk you briefly through that exercise. Then we're going to go into the repair responsibility and funding approaches, which we are seeking your input and feedback on. And I believe Kyle Dixon and Ben Turner from the city are around to support with those slides. And then we'll wrap up with identifying if we need any additional broader community engagement beyond the engagement that we've done with our stakeholders. So with that, we can dive right in. The items that we tried to cover with our work on the sidewalk master plan since last fall till now is first to identify what are the concerns regarding the sidewalks in the city, and then what are the desired outcomes. And based on those, we developed a set of criteria to aid us with the prioritization process, because there is sidewalk distress all across the city. And the city was trying to figure out how to best identify areas for higher priority to go and fix sidewalks as opposed to others in a way that is measurable, based on data, and equitable. So to achieve that, we ended up reviewing a large set of data to identify these priority areas. And based on those, we also looked at strategies for potential repair approaches and also strategies for potential funding approaches for the city to go and address all those sidewalk repairs that are needed. And then lastly, we're going to be, as I mentioned, talking about potential larger community engagement to incorporate that feedback into the master plan report. In terms of the sidewalk master plan milestones, we started in the fall doing some research and building up our case, our data, and then we had our first focus group kickoff meeting back in December. So we had our group of stakeholders that we've worked with throughout this process. The first kickoff meeting, we introduced everything to them. We introduced the plan and its objectives and what we were trying to do. Then we had a second and third focus group meeting in January and February, where we discussed the potential prioritization criteria, and we worked with the focus group to identify which criteria take higher priority versus others, and developed a tool for the city to have as a continuous tool that they can use in the future every time they want to reassess the sidewalk conditions in the city. We took all that information along with the repair and funding approaches that we looked into and compiled everything into a report that we finalized just last month. And this is where we're at today. So we're presenting this report to you all, hopefully seeking your feedback, and again, talking about the potential for future community engagement. So that's a summary of all the work that we've done so far. I'll go into the sidewalk conditions right now in the city. So the city prepared this map that identifies the sidewalk condition or assesses sidewalk conditions in the city back in 2025. So they created what's called a sidewalk condition index that goes through the sidewalk conditions from excellent to having serious conditions. So you can see a lot of the older parts of the city, which is not surprising, have more of the red and orange and yellow colors as opposed to the other parts of the city where you have the green colors. And I want to focus that this slide focuses on public sidewalks in the city. And the reason that a lot of the sidewalks in the older parts of the city have more distress is because a lot of the sidewalk damage in the city of Liberty Lake is due to mature trees and tree roots busting up the sidewalk panels. So it's not surprising to see that kind of pattern of where you see the highest level of distress. Generally, the city broke down the levels of distress into 3 levels. You have minor, moderate, and severe levels of distress. Minor distress can typically be ground down. So like say if one panel is slightly higher than the other, you can grind it down. The city has its own internal grind program. But once the displacement becomes more than 2 inches, that's not a grinding down condition anymore. Then you need more severe interventions. And even with the grinding down of sidewalk panels, you can potentially grind them once, grind them a couple times. But at that point, more than that, there is an underlying condition that's causing this displacement. So this is just a temporary fix for these issues. You also have the moderate sidewalk conditions or sidewalk distress points where you have some cracks that can be sealed. And then you have severe conditions. Severe conditions or distress points usually entail needing to replace that sidewalk panel altogether. So the city summarized all the distress points from the assessment done in 2025, and they found almost 8,000 points of sidewalk distress around the city. About 70% of that is considered minor. So, maybe we have a little time to address it. But about 10% of that is severe and needs to be addressed, again, mostly through panel replacement altogether. And this can add up definitely with time. And you can see this map here that was also prepared by the city that highlights all those distress points. So the green is for your minor distress, yellow is for your moderate distress, and red is for your severe distress. It might not look like there are 8,000 points on this map, but if you zoom in, it's just because it's at a larger city scale that you can't see a lot of the overlapping dots on this map. So we were brought in with this information. The city did all this background work. So we came in and wanted to look at how can you start preparing some repair criteria to help the city prioritize and identify which areas to address first. So we looked at a lot of examples from the state and also from around the country of how other cities address their sidewalks and their sidewalk master plan. And we identified 5 buckets or 5 categories of rating criteria that we wanted to look into and review in our evaluation process. So we have safety, equity, proximity, connectivity, and cost benefit criteria. So these are the 5 criteria categories. Each category had a bunch of items within it, so I'm not going to walk through all of them. You have those in the report in your agenda packet. But for example, the safety criteria takes into account the severity of the distress on the sidewalk or the speed limit on the adjacent street or has there been recorded injuries in the past? Equity criteria, you talk about how much of the local population in this particular area are children, or how many are seniors, or do you have manufactured housing where people are more likely to be using the sidewalk or walking to a bus stop? Proximity criteria focuses on the proximity of that sidewalk segment to areas with high pedestrian activities like schools, parks, public facilities, trails, etc. And then we have connectivity criteria. This is the connectivity within the sidewalk network itself. So does the sidewalk close a gap that you have in your current sidewalk network? Or does it extend a sidewalk into an area that doesn't currently have sidewalks? Sometimes you only have sidewalk on one side of the street, but not the other. So this is the area where we're looking at the connectivity of the sidewalk network itself. And then lastly, cost benefit analysis. This is a process where the city can go into a deeper level of analysis as opposed to just reviewing data points and looking at specific areas. Like sometimes an area has a high benefit because of its proximity to certain areas and potentially a low level of severity. But because of the high benefit and the low cost, it becomes more prioritized because it's an easier fix that will provide a lot of benefit for the local community. So these are the criteria that we brought into our analysis process to start identifying which areas we want to focus on first. And I have a series of maps that I'll just walk through real quick. As you saw this map earlier, what we did with this map is that we took each color of the specific dots and we looked at which areas have, for example, a lot of severe distress points. And this is what you see here in this map. So you have a couple areas that immediately stand out to you where you have a higher concentration of severe distress. And then we did the same for moderate distress and the same for minor distress points throughout the city. We also mapped all the existing ADA ramps that are available for sidewalks in the city. We looked at all the missing sidewalk gaps. And we made sure to identify them between public sidewalks that the city is responsible for, and then private sidewalks that the city is not responsible for. So you have all this maroon color is areas where you have missing sidewalks. And then the green is private sidewalks, blue is public sidewalks. We also looked at all the areas where you've had pedestrian injuries reported in the past 10 years. We also looked at the speed limits for the full street network in the city, because again, this could impact how important it is for you to have a safe and reliable sidewalk, the faster the traffic is on the adjacent street. We looked at proximity to senior housing, proximity to parks, and we analyzed walk sheds, etc., from all those different locations like schools and other things that fed into our proximity criteria. So this is a sample of all the maps and the data points that we took into consideration when we did our analysis. And what we did is that we created this matrix that you see on this screen, where we asked our stakeholder group to start comparing each criteria against all the other criteria that we're evaluating. It's just like, is this more important or is this less important than that? So they went through this exercise comparing each one. And at the end of the day, we have a list of scores for each of the criteria. So each set of criteria received a score. So the ones that received the score of less than 7, they would get a weight of 1 point. The ones that got a score between 7 and 9, they would get a weight of 2 points. And then the ones that got a score of more than 9, they get a weight of 3 points. This way we have our priority areas between like high priority that are over the 9, moderate priority that are in the middle between 7 and 9, and then lower priority, which got a score of lesser than 7. So when we looked at the results of the items, looking at all the criteria here, and the feedback that we got from the focus group, these are the results that we got. So you can see here the score that we got for certain criteria and then the weight. So the greens are getting a weight of 3 in our final score sheet. And then the ones that have the yellow got 2 points of a weight, and then less than 7 got 1 point. And one thing for us to do, just to make sure that we're not missing anything, sometimes stakeholders are not aware of certain items that, for example, city staff are aware of them because of their work experience and because of the practicality and awareness of how things are typically done within the city. We did the same exercise with city staff independently, just to compare how that lines up against what the stakeholders gave us. So everything that you see here with an arrow, a green arrow or a yellow arrow, those are ones that the focus group identified as high priority. And you can see there's, for the most part, they're lined up with what the city staff also identified as higher priority. Potentially the one outlier is proximity to ADA ramps, as stakeholder identified it as higher priority than city staff did. But at the end of the day, our scoring results were taken based on what the stakeholder group provided us with. We just wanted to get the city staff review just for a gauge check. So as I mentioned, we broke down the criteria into high priority, moderate priority, and low priority criteria, as you see those in the screen. And then just to take it to the next level for a usable tool for the city, we prepared a scoring sheet. So with this scoring sheet, you have each criteria, and we broke them down back into those categories that we have. So we have safety, proximity, equity, connectivity, and economic criteria or cost benefit criteria. And then with each one of those, we have the specific criteria and its weight and potentially a qualifier. So for example, when we're looking at the degree of sidewalk distress, and I know it's very small on this slide, but you have the same scoring sheet in the report in your agenda packets. If it's minor, it gets slightly a lower score than if it's a severe distress point. So we added some qualifiers or multipliers for the weight that each one's received. So we took this sheet and applied it to all the distress points that we looked at, that map with all the dots, and created a new map using the same dots, but now applying different coloration to them based on how many scores, or like what's the density of the scoring that they got for each specific point. So the redder the dots are, it means they got a higher score on that distress scoring sheet. So this way we can have this tool that can help the city look at areas to prioritize as they're trying to look at repairing certain streets or certain sidewalk segments in bulk, because you have the economy of scale and all of that. So instead of trying to target each panel at a time, it's better for the city to target them per zone, or each zone or sidewalk segment, or several sidewalk segments at a time. So this was the result of our prioritization exercise that we did with our engagement with our stakeholder group. And with that, are there any questions about that, or should we move on to the sidewalk repair?
No, I don't see any.
Okay. All right. So before I pass it over to Ben, the important reason for why we need to figure out approaches for the city to start addressing sidewalk repairs is that settlements for or claims for sidewalk injuries have increased significantly. So the Washington City's Insurance Authority has reported that they have increased by 84% recently. And we have a couple of examples here that you can see on the screen from the city of Spokane, where in 2024, there was a settlement for $100,000. In 2021, there was a settlement for $200,000. Many cities are dealing with these types of settlements. So it becomes a liability for the city of Liberty Lake. So even though in Liberty Lake, the burden on fixing the sidewalk, the financial burden and the actual fixing burden of that falls on the adjacent or abutting property owner, the city is still reliable for injuries that take place. So the city is responsible for maintaining a safe sidewalk network, even if the abutting property owners are the ones responsible for repairing the sidewalks. So with that, I think we can get into the potential repair responsibility approaches that we're looking at, and I'll pass it on to Ben.
Now, real quick, I do have a quick question. The missing sidewalk slide, is there any, I don't know which, there were no numbers, so I don't know which one it was. I'm sorry.
No worries, I'll get back to it.
I had a question on that. Yeah, yes. So, and I'm looking at Ben a little bit on this. So I'm seeing missing sidewalks in many of our private communities.
Yeah, I think they were included on this map, but obviously if they're on a private street, which say Legacy Ridge, for example, that would not be the responsibility of the
Okay,
city.
I don't know if there's, maybe we need to turn those at a different color going forward to distinguish them, because that's, so I see the stuff along Broadway, just north of Meadowood Golf Course.
Yeah, mostly
King
residential
James.
areas
Yeah.
for the most part. Then we've got some gaps in the kind of the tech campus area.
Right,
on
but
Matt.
I'm looking at mostly the residential ones. They're missing, yes, but they're on private streets.
Yeah, we can definitely update this map.
Thanks.
Yeah, because we don't show like Legacy Ridge, for example, in any other map, Sharifa, so that's a good catch.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and all the stuff around the gated communities around the golf courses as well. Quite a few there around Meadowood and Liberty Lake. Thanks.
Great.
We go all the way back.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Fine.
Oh, and while you're doing that, bus stop, is that like STA bus stop, or is that also school bus stops?
I believe it's just STA. But
That's what I was thinking, but I wanted to make sure. Thanks.
All right. All right, thanks, Sharifa. So we basically, as part, and a lot of this research came from Sue, so kudos to her. She did most of the legwork on this. So she looked at a lot of other cities and how they accomplished this or struggle with this in particular. And so we're going to just kind of go through those three options: property owner, a partnership between the property owner and the city, and then just the city. So next slide, please. So property owner, I mean, that's really the status quo. That's what we're doing now. And Sharifa talked about it a little bit on the previous slide about lawsuits. And I think this is something that this is a community engagement item. I would argue a lot of property owners in the city don't realize that it is their responsibility for both their sidewalks as well as their street trees. And I had that conversation with a gentleman this week where I'm just letting him know, hey, by the way. So I think that's something that we need to let people know. They don't. I would guess most people don't realize it is their responsibility to take care of this. So this one, it really, obviously we put some pros and cons here. For the city, besides the lawsuit part, this is, we don't really aren't required to do anything. Obviously we've voluntarily implemented the grinding program, which is a very small part of our budget. So we just eat that out of our streets fund right now. But if that moves forward, and it's really just on a volunteer basis, people call in and say, hey, I'd like to get my sidewalk grinded, and we schedule it with a contractor. And so that's kind of a possible model for the city option, but just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. But a lot of the cons, and we've heard it from citizens, I think even sitting here or standing here at this lectern, I mean, it's a very expensive endeavor for a single sidewalk panel replacement. We've heard somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, because if you're going as a single, homeowner to a contractor, there's an opportunity cost that they include in that. So for smaller jobs, they're a lot more expensive than if we were to bundle things, similar to what we do with the grinding program. So that's really, I think, the hardest part about this is the overall cost. And I know Kyle will go into that a little bit after me. But it's an onerous thing for a homeowner, especially if you're not a handy one. And we have some, we could have some issues with quality and things like that. Obviously, if you do a sidewalk repair, you're required to get a permit, the city would inspect it. But there are some, the biggest con is the cost. And that's something that we've got to talk about more. The city version, really, there's a couple of ways we could do this. We could do it similar to the grinding program, where we kind of manage an economy of scale, project list. We've got over 8,000 distresses. A lot of those don't need to be addressed anytime soon, but there's a significant number that we need to either take care of immediately or within the near future, the next few years, roughly 25%. So we could do it either via a contractor where we would need to, manage all that by a city and then, work. But we do get those economies of scale. We've got, we could do 20 in the, on Maxwell Avenue. That's probably the worst sidewalks in the city. If you look at the map, it's the only one that's got like dark red. So I don't recall if any of you live in that neighborhood, but you probably know what I'm talking about if you do. But that's really, that we're looking at as a city. We can do it with a contractor or we can look at it in-house. Obviously, there's a startup cost with that. I have some crew that have that ability to do that work now, but we also have to do all these other things like fix potholes and do things like that. Concrete is a little bit different window than asphalt. So there are times throughout the year that we could focus on this, but this would more than likely require additional staffing and probably additional equipment. I did include this in the 20-year CFP, more on the material side, the CFP, but not the labor side. So that figure that was included in the 20-year CFP, I recall, is about $70,000 a year. We could probably tackle 50 of these a year with that number. That doesn't include labor and equipment and all those other things. So there is a cost if the city were to take this on, and Kyle will go into that further with options if council decided to choose that. But that is another option that we could undertake as well. And then the third option is really the mixed one, kind of in the middle. And it's really, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. There's cost share programs. There's, city takes care of it and then bills the property owner, which I've, as far as all the research that Sue and staff have done, a lot of these programs have kind of mixed results. It's really a volunteer basis versus like a statutory. And it could possibly create some uncomfortable situations. I guess that's the bottom line. So this would be, if we were to eliminate one of these three courses of action, I think we're all in agreement that this one would be the one that we would eliminate, just because it still requires the same amount of management as a city-run program. Well, you have a lot of other things that you have to work with. And like I said, it's voluntary for the most part. It wouldn't necessarily move the needle a whole lot. Based on some of the research that Sue's done where other municipalities have tried this option. So that's the partnership. And I think that might be.
Yeah, that covers the repair approaches. So I don't know if you all have any thoughts or ideas on preferences. What we've heard from the focus group, from the stakeholder group, is a strong push towards a city-led program, just because the status quo, has been mentioned, is not really effective at the moment. So maybe a strong campaign for raising awareness about the responsibility. But what we've heard from the focus group is a strong push for a city-led program.
So before I turn it over to Kyle, are there any other questions on the options?
Excellent. Sharifa, Ben, thank you. So as we kind of touched on at the last meeting of the 20-year capital facilities plan, we have a fair amount of these master planning activities all happening at the same time. And what you're going to see is a lot of overlapping opportunity on the revenue side or the execution side from the city to pull some levers to be able to fund this. If it is indeed a city-led program, we can run through some of these options. Next slide, please. We're all aware of the Transportation Benefit District. We have one right now. We levy the councilmanic limit of 0.1% for our current street operations. And so the statutory limit is 0.3%. And so there could be a concerted effort as a potential funding approach to take this to the voters to indicate we recognize a deficiency with our sidewalk condition. We can, upon approval of the voters, raise anywhere between $800 upwards of $1.6 million a year to that statutory maximum there to cover the cost of this. And then essentially the city takes it over. We have a dedicated revenue stream. We'll get into a couple of options in a couple of slides that's been the avenue some other cities have taken. And so I think we're all relatively aware of this. And so we've touched on this for some other items as well. this is certainly an option for the city to consider, to place before the voters, to identify a targeted revenue stream for sidewalks. So next slide, please. We touched on this a little bit at the last meeting as well. Local improvement districts, they present a kind of unique option to fund sidewalk improvements. So LIDs are kind of, they're preferential funding sources in certain circumstances for utility improvements, for street improvements, and certainly for sidewalk improvements. And the onus is shifted a little bit. It breaks it out, but it gives the opportunity to neighborhoods to kind of take ownership of their own sidewalks if they choose to do so, and essentially petition the city to develop a district. And so essentially what happens there is there's a condition assessment, there is a total cost of construction that is developed. And so that is put forward for the legislative body to consider forming a district. How that gets funded is that then the property owners within that specific, call it neighborhood, there's an assessment placed on the property tax, and they share in the cost of that construction to that specific neighborhood. And so there are a couple of interesting I guess, campaigns. Marysville's one, Paulsbo is another, where essentially it's advertised on their website, and it's almost like a brochure of, hey, neighborhood leaders, if you've noticed that your sidewalks have deteriorated, and you want to kind of raise awareness amongst your neighborhood or your community within a community, you can petition your city to form a LID. And so it's 51% of the property owners can petition that. And then that gets placed before the council to essentially take it from there. And there's several steps involved, and it's not a quick process, but it is a process by which you can get direct community feedback on, I guess, the urgency of the need. And so yeah, Paulsbo and Marysville have done that. And it's on their website, and it's this interesting advertising mechanism whereby they kind of give ownership of the ability to levy a tax on themselves towards the betterment of their, it's not just sidewalks, but street trees, street improvements, street lights is another big one that they've targeted. And so this is an interesting one. It is not a quick fix by any means, and it is reliant on neighborhoods to come forward to recognize the need. But it's another interesting one for us to undoubtedly be aware of. Yeah, go ahead.
When the revenue comes, so I'm envisioning a project where we've got to rip out all the sidewalks, and this is going to cost, let's just make up a number, called $100,000.
Yeah.
Is it a one-time assessment on all the neighbors, all the neighbors for $100,000? Is it sort of financed over time, or
it's a mix of both. So you have the opportunity as a property owner within this LID to pay your one-time assessment and be done with it. There's also the balance of that, whatever isn't paid up front is issued via a bond. And then that gets repaid over anywhere between a 10 and 20-year cycle.
Excellent.
And so those that don't want to pay up front will then have that annual assessment.
Thank you.
So that's why you can see it could get pretty onerous on the execution of it, but it does happen. So go ahead.
So in other words, keeping the numbers even, say you have 100 people, and they're considering for this LID. So 51 of those people, you have to have, half plus one, 50% plus one have to agree to this.
Yep.
In order to form the LID.
Correct. And it's not just, let's take Rocky Hill for example. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily have to be the whole of Rocky Hill. Mm-hmm. I mean, it can be I don't think the RCW confines how narrowly construed it can be. I mean, you get diminishing returns pretty quick if you're looking at 5 houses. And so I don't think that's ever been done, but as a community as a whole isn't really defined in terms of forming a LID.
Huh. Yeah, I'm recalling, back from my real estate days, that if there was a lid on the title,
Mhm.
that when the individual went to sell their house, that it'd have to be paid off. Is that still the same, or?
I'm not sure of that. I know it has to be, it would have to be declared. And so
Yeah.
I would imagine that between, the declaration of that could probably be negotiated. But I haven't gotten that granular with
Okay,
with
I think it has
the
to be
adjudication of
paid.
those.
I think it would work similar as if there was an assessment from your HOA.
Yeah.
I ran into
Right.
that when I had my
Sure.
condo. There was an assessment on the unit that hadn't been paid, and that was paid out of the closing costs by the seller.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
So yeah, regardless, an interesting revenue mechanism that we haven't really kind of interfaced with all that much. And so, next slide, please. So we've gone through this before. So this is another way, just like the Transportation Benefit District does for sales tax, we can gauge voter sentiment via property tax. And so this would be a citywide measure that the city would take on. The city is responsible for maintaining and repairing all of the sidewalks. And so this would be a citywide assessment on all of the property within the city to carry out that effort. And so we went through this. I won't regurgitate all of this, but it's a 60% voter approval, all of those things to implement a voter approved tax levy. Next slide, please. Other sources, of course, we're always going to mention grants. Grants are the low hanging fruit. If there's ever an opportunity for us to secure local, state, or federal funding for sidewalk improvement activity, we will absolutely do that. That'll be first and foremost. We've talked about utility tax. Utility tax is there's a broad range of potential uses for that, and it's a revenue stream we don't currently receive. Council manic bond. So if you'll recall back with Trailhead was a council manic bond. You're using existing revenues to pay down a note. We don't obviously currently have an existing revenue stream for sidewalks, so we would have to evaluate other potential existing revenue streams, and that leads into kind of this last piece of this level of service that we can consider, where if we have to reduce levels of service elsewhere to fund this, that's obviously another potential outcome. There are some cities that use stormwater and aquifer protection funds for sidewalk improvement. That is a potential outcome. It's a loose kind of connection that you can make, but other cities do it, and so it's not unprecedented that we could potentially look at stormwater and aquifer protection revenue for potential replacement of sidewalks as well. So a couple of things. So Sue helped us out with really like evaluating what other cities do and how it works. And so as we mentioned kind of at the first part, so Yelm does something similar to our TBD sales tax, where they have a dedicated funding stream through the Road and Street Construction Fund, which is what would be something similar for us with the TBD sales tax, where the city handles that, but we have additional revenue to carry out that construction and repair and maintenance through the TBD sales tax. Bothell has the citywide excess levy, that 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. So that's voter approved. And so those voters essentially through their vote told the city that this was a high enough priority to pass that measure. That's how they fund their sidewalk improvements. Then Shoreline does a version of a TBD. And so they have, I think, the population base to support a car tab. I don't know that we do. I think a car tab of $20 would generate about $150,000 to $200,000 a year for the city. And so that's not enough to carry out a sidewalk replacement program. But again, it's just another example of where other cities have tackled this issue and have found appropriate revenue streams to tackle sidewalk improvements. So with that, I'll stand for questions, but I believe that was everything. So.
Councilmember Kurtz.
When you're talking about the TBD, would it be using the current TBD and adding the 2%, or could it be adding a new TBD?
So my original assessment would be adding to the TBD. I suppose there is potential to add an overlapping TBD. I will look into that.
Okay.
Just for, I guess, opportunity. There's obviously I think the quick response to that is yes, if that's an option, we need to look into it. But I'm not sure if there's a max on overlapping TBDs. And so
Okay.
I will look into that as well.
So we have the one for streets, and then if there was a different one for sidewalks, I guess it'd be my question.
Absolutely.
My
Okay.
other question is, can you remind us of if we were to replace all the sidewalks today, how much money are we looking at?
We talked about that a little bit a couple of days ago. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million.
All the sidewalks or just the high priority
Just the
ones?
high priority ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the number that I have sticking in my head was like $24 million to replace every
Sure.
issue today.
Right.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
was the $1 million, was that for just the high distressed, just the damaged one? Yeah. Right. So.
Anybody else?
Regarding the local improvement district, I'm trying to envision asking, well, I'm looking for initiative.
Yeah.
Homeowners per se, banding together to present and prepare. I'm wondering if the city could maybe make suggestions regarding the potential boundaries of such districts.
Yeah.
At least give a framework for local residents within those then to consider and to operationalize.
Certainly, yeah. So there can be some outreach on the part of the city to target the high distressed areas and maybe deliver some sort of opportunity to help them create the petition to consider it. And then we can go from there. So the 51% is the petition. There is also as we kind of navigate that process, the property owners also have an escape hatch, and so they can file a counter petition. And if 60% file a counter petition, then the lid is dead. And so there's checks and balances kind of through that process. And so we can absolutely help them navigate that potential outcome.
Okay, hold on before we go back around. We've already heard from you guys. Anybody think from Councilmember Klingler? Go ahead.
I was wondering, do we have a plan for citizen education around their responsibility for sidewalk maintenance and repair? I mean, I didn't really consider that until I was reading through this. I'm like, well, I'm kind of glad I'm on a street on our side that doesn't have sidewalk maintenance. Before I'd been looking at it and going, why don't we have a sidewalk? So yeah, I think education would be really important.
Yeah, certainly. So the city can consider putting together some sort of, I guess, awareness campaign and push it out. The short answer is yes, we could do something like that. I'm not sure exactly what that would look like.
I just think that would work well in concert with, discussing these, what are they, lids?
Yeah.
For, the areas, so that at first people knew, the advantages because they're responsible for them. And if they're in one of the high distressed areas, why that might be good if they band together and have that as a shared cost instead of, maybe approaching it another way.
Sure.
Okay, we haven't heard from Councilmembers Fisher or Darrow, anything from either one of you? No?
I guess just for the lids, it sounds like other places are doing lids for sidewalks, but just administratively, how difficult is it to do multiple lids at the same time, or, that sort of?
It depends on the size and scope. Some lids can take a full 2 years to implement. And so there's a time factor in that, just because of the implementation and the execution. There's unsurprisingly, there's an overwhelming amount of opportunities for citizen engagement, and that just takes time. And so yeah, certainly that. I'm sorry, I missed the next part of your question.
Oh, I'm just if it would be priority based, or we're doing trying for all the lids at the same time, or, that sort of.
So yeah, we could potentially run concurrent lids. I mean, they can be onerous, kind of in the throes of the public review and the public outreach portion of it. But it's certainly an option if the residents tell us that that's something that they're interested in, based on the outreach that we can provide. So,
All right, we're back, Councilmember Ball and then Councilmember Severs.
So on, back to what, when Ben was talking, do all of these different approaches require, extra staff?
For the repair approaches.
Ben's coming up.
So I would say unless we decide to do in-house city, run, that we wouldn't necessarily need more staff. Because if we did it's in-house, definitely we would need more, but other than that, it's really managing the program. And so that's something we could probably take on with our existing labor force. But
But that would require partnership model, right?
Right. You're gonna have to have some willing partners and really all the codes.
Right, and I don't support that, so we would have to have additional staff that.
Unless we went through like the contractor route. We'd still have to manage that
Oh,
contractor.
right.
And which, because we do a lot of that already. But yeah.
Okay, and Kyle. So the TBD and utility tax, I mean, do these all have to go before the voters or just the TBD and the property tax levy?
yeah, TBD as it's currently constructed, and I'll bring back some clarity on the potential for overlapping TBD jurisdictions, as Councilmember Kurtz alluded to
Right.
earlier. So yeah, the voter approved levy, the utility tax is a councilmanic decision. And so that is that's a revenue that can be applied to it can be applied to sidewalks, it can be applied to roads, it can be applied to parks, it can be applied to PD, it can be applied to library. And so it's a flexible revenue source.
Okay. Oh,
Are you?
I was just gonna say, so when do we need to figure out, I mean, I want to see this happen, these sidewalks get fixed sooner than later, because, I've talked about them before and have worried about people getting hurt and us getting sued. So when would you need to have a decision on how we want to fund this?
So if I can interject on that question, I think what we're asking for you or from you tonight is to help us better understand the next step. And the recommendation that staff would make at this point would be, is there enough interest from among the council to take a group of options and get a broader public engagement effort started so you can hear from the public. And we're talking specifically about call it the as-is model or the city-owned and operated model. I think we've certainly on the staff side and the working group side have concluded that the partnership is just not viable.
Right.
And so is the council interested in getting public engagement and feedback on those two models, which could include a public education and should include a public education arm to inform people what the current situation is and what their responsibilities currently are. And then some feedback with respect to threshold of investment, not necessarily preferred method, but threshold of investment to ensure that sidewalks throughout the community are kept in a state of repair that meets a level of service that we've all said is desirable. And so that is really the ask is there enough interest among the council for us to take that next step and do a formal public engagement process so that we can get that information and bring it back to you to start making decisions about specific mechanisms going forward.
Is there anybody opposed to that?
No, I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest. Hold on. Oh. Okay, I think we were still on Linda's question, then we had Councilmember.
So what would that look like, though? Like getting the CEC involved or another town hall or what?
Potentially, certainly getting the CEC involved, but potentially there could be a town hall style conversation about it. But there would be other opportunities similar to what Jen described as we were going through the parks master planning process of getting engagement in different spots, but all designed to get feedback from the community as to which of these two options is preferable. And if the city-owned and operated option is the most preferable, how much are you willing to pay over what you're currently paying to make that happen?
Okay.
We have Councilmember Severs next.
Is there a current proposal for cost per year out of the city, or are we not there yet?
And
I'd really like to just kind of go back to what Mark's talking about.
doesn't sound like we're there yet. We need to
Right.
do the engagement first.
I think we can swag some of those things, but I don't know that we have those numbers sitting here.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I just say, I like where you're going, Mark. Let's get it. This is a very big project and a very big decision, and I think we need to get some citizen engagement going.
Councilmember Kurtz, you were next.
I think my question is along the same lines as Linda, like if we do have sidewalks that need to be repaired now that are in severe, and I don't want to wait, not do that and have somebody trip and fall and hurt themselves while we're engaging the community. I feel like the community engagement part is, there's parallel processes. I think two things need to happen. We need to start working on the sidewalks that are in severe disrepair and engage on what to do about the rest of it. But I would like to have an idea of how to put this forward in the budget, and that's coming up. And so I guess when we're talking about community engagement, how long are we talking about?
Certainly not long enough that would affect our ability to bring something forward during the budget process. But I hesitate to say a fixed amount of time. It would need to be long enough for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish and understand that, or have a comfort level with the amount of feedback that we get. But I don't think it necessarily needs to be something that we would worry would bleed into the budget development.
Do you think we'd have, I guess I'd like to know and make a decision about which path we're going in the budgeting process. I guess that's what I'm saying. If we're gonna do a tax, if we're gonna do, homeowners are gonna pay for it themselves, whatever path we're gonna go, I would like to know that as we're in the budgeting season so that we can budget for these for next year, whichever method is gonna be approved.
Without knowing the specific techniques that we would put together, I would say with a high degree of comfort that we could accomplish that in 60 days.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Klingler.
Yeah, I just want to, kind of remind everybody the kind of feedback that we had post tree removal from the community and stuff. And that's also an indicator of why we need the level of engagement so that they're fully aware and can give us the input that's going to drive how effective this is.
Okay, hold on. We've heard from both of you twice. I'm gonna go back around. Mayor Pro Tem, anything? Councilmember Darrow, Councilmember Fisher. Okay, Councilmember Ball.
Yeah, I agree with Councilmember Klingler's the need for, community engagement, but I also am concerned about, well, particularly on Maxwell and Malvern, some of where the reds are. I mean, if somebody gets hurt this summer and we get sued, it's not going to be a good thing. So yeah, getting after some of these really bad ones, really bad, I think it would be a good idea.
So I would say that right now, before we have an actual directive from the council to take one path or another, we would follow our standard process, which would be to utilize code enforcement to address any current sidewalk that is out of compliance or that needs to be addressed. And so Sue is actively, and our other community development staff is actively pursuing those issues as they come up, but I don't know that there's another mechanism to take at this point.
I see.
Go ahead, Sue.
If they don't do it, the only penalty is a civil infraction. There's nothing to make them do it in the current code.
Right.
So.
Which is
Well,
part of the challenge.
Yeah, I know, and that's disturbing, so, yeah, okay.
Well, and this is also something we can't, we're not going to push pause on what our current methods and options are. We ran into that years and years ago with the donation policy. Um, we're not going to repeat that. So we're going to continue with what our current policies are and how we're handling it while we go through this. We are not going to put pause on that. We also can't rush this. You know, we've got the public engagement. We also, I mean, this is only a piece of funding that we have to you guys have to consider as a whole over the next 6 years and 20 years that the finance committee is gonna tackle. So I think we need to, eat the elephant one bite at a time, but keeping an eye on the timeline at the same, in the same vein. Councilmember Severs, I think you were next.
Oh, at the risk of repeating what everybody said, I appreciate what you're saying, Mark, about code enforcement. I think it's an opportunity to launch some citizen education at the exact same time. And I have a question for our city attorney. Through some additional code enforcement education methods, does that at least help shelter some liability from?
I would say yes, but it's going to be a case by case basis. Where is the location? What were the facts of the circumstances of an accident that may have happened? Is it property that was to be maintained by the property owner? And there's going to be multiple factors that come into each situation. So it's hard to have a overarching position on each circumstance that may occur.
Sure, fair enough. I gotta think though, if it's a sidewalk directly in front of somebody's house, it's very clearly their responsibility to do it. The city's saying you're supposed to do this. You're liable, FYI, if somebody gets hurt, then it's hard for the city to get sued and say, we told them to fix it. It was very clear on them. At least it's got to shelter us a little bit.
Sure.
And of course, the goal is for nobody to get hurt, but education, code enforcement, and let's get moving on with citizen engagement. Yeah.
Anybody else before we go back around? We're hitting like the round 5. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Ball.
So, Sue, if I may ask, when you do you actually knock on their door? Okay, and do you tell them? Oh,
Just so our audience can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
sorry to make you come up to the podium, but when you talk to them and say, your sidewalk is like a big tripping hazard and someone could get hurt, so on and so forth, do they understand the seriousness of it, or are they?
Yeah, most people are shocked to know it's their responsibility, as well
Ah.
as the street trees
Ah.
are their responsibility. And in some of these neighborhoods with the bad sidewalks, the street trees are also dying.
Mhm.
Like all the ash trees along Melbourne and Maxwell,
Mhm.
those are dying. So
Mhm.
it's gonna be a street tree and a sidewalk.
So they're probably floored. Yeah.
And some people, I run into, they just don't have the ability to pay
And that's the
$3,000 or
problem.
$5,000.
Yeah, and then there's
So-
more to take the tree out too.
Yeah, so it's a challenge, but again, the way the code is currently written, there's nothing to force them to do it. So,
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, I bug people. I just keep after them until they do what I want them to do or
Mhm.
what we need them to do per the code, but it's a lot of just talking to people and keeping after them to
Right.
get it fixed.
We can't
So-
find them or, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just want to say persistence.
we would.
Yeah.
We can't find them or.
It's a civil infraction. Yeah, it's a fine.
Okay.
But if they're already don't have the money to fix the sidewalk and you find them,
Well,
yeah.
Or we take that fine and credit that toward their repair. Anyway, we're not gonna go down that path. Is everybody okay with moving ahead with the engagement as Mark? Okay,
Yeah.
super. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sharif. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you have?
No, I think we covered it.
All right, thank you.
Unless Amy has anything else that she wants to cover, but that's what I had today.
She's shaking her head, so have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Great. All right, we're up to what's left of our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move general business items A, B, C, and G.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Severs. Those in favor of approving general business consent agenda items A, B, C, and G, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we're up to general business.
Madam Mayor, I move general business 12A, Greenstone event sponsorship form in the amount of 900.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Councilmember Severs. Any Any comments? Obviously, I know we like to put these in action items. Great shout out to Greenstone, who's always been a great partner in supporting our events. Really glad that they're throwing in their checkbook again. They usually do for most everything we do. So big thank you to them. Anybody else? Okay, those in favor of approving the donation from Greenstone for $900, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next.
Madam Mayor, I move general business item 12B, donation approval Precision German Garage in the amount $550.
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Councilmember Fisher. For those of you who don't know Precision German Garage, I saw them for the first time on my way to Adorable Flowers the other day. They're down near Snow Eater Brewery. And great to see some of our newer businesses stepping up and helping out. So if you have a German car, check them out. I don't anymore. So any other comments or questions? Right, those in favor of approving the donation from Precision German Garage, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0.
Madam Mayor, I move general business item 12D, Code of Ethics Complaint, adopt recommended disposition of the hearing examiner.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Councilmember Severs. We went through this last week. This was what was asked to be brought back. Is there any further comments or questions on this item? Councilmember Kurt.
I just need to recuse myself from the vote.
Oh, yes, thank you. I forgot about that. All right, any other comments, questions? All right, those in favor of approving the Code of Ethics complaints and adopt the recommended disposition of the hearing examiner, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and we have Councilmember Kurtz abstaining for conflict of interest, and so we have motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move formerly 11D, now we'll call it 12E, Orchard Park Tennis Court resurfacing.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Councilmember Severs. Councilmember Ball.
So Jan, I have a question about this because just, how old is this? I mean, I see these cracks. It looks like an earthquake.
5 years. 5 years ago was the last time we resurfaced it. And that's the life expectancy of the courts, 5 years.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, we do them on rotation every 5 years.
Oh, because I thought maybe this contractor just did a crappy job.
No, that's normal.
Really?
Lots of use.
Oh, it looks horrible. So,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Yikes.
All right, those in favor of approving the Orchard Park Tennis Court resurfacing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Madam Mayor, I move formerly general business 11E, Greenstone Foundation, Spokane Symphony 3-year agreement, Spokane Symphony.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Severs. Any questions?
I just want to recognize the continuing partnership with the Greenstone Foundation and what an epic and important part the Spokane Symphony is to Labor Day weekend in Liberty Lake.
Absolutely. Councilmember Ball.
Okay, so me again. Hi, Jen. I know I have asked about this before, but I still don't quite understand. So Greenstone apparently is the sponsor of this?
Yeah, essentially, they're the ones who actually organize the contract and do the contract negotiations with the symphony. The city does not want to be in the business of negotiating a contract with the symphony. So they help us by doing that.
Okay, so, but in the end, we end up paying for it.
Correct.
So why are they the sponsor? It does not make sense.
They're sort of the liaison between the city and the symphony.
Well, yeah, but I think, he who has money should be also.
But the city doesn't want to be in the business of negotiating contracts with the symphony, preferably.
So are you asking specifically, Linda, about Greenstone being named as the sponsor or
Yeah.
just their involvement?
Being the sponsor when we're the ones putting up the money.
Well, they're the one historically who have been, I mean, it used to be the Friends of Pavilion Park who,
And it's, yeah,
For it.
right. And they agreed to carry it after Friends of Pavilion Park disintegrated. But it's truly a partnership. It's not that Greenstone sponsors the symphony. It's a partnership between the city and the Greenstone Foundation to bring the symphony to the city of Liberty Lake.
This has gone on for over 20 years. So I
Appreciate it.
I
Can we- no,
applaud
okay,
Greenstone
we
for
don't-
what they
okay,
do.
Guys, no crosstalk and
Yeah, I'm
we
sorry.
need to raise our hands.
I was talking.
But we had Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem had his hand up before you did. That's why I have hands raised so I can call in order. Mayor Pro Tem.
I was just going to observe that Greenstone's contribution specifically is in relationships and in, I'm going to say talent acquisition. This is actually something that we just don't have staff that really have a background and a performance in. And I sincerely appreciate what they bring to this in terms of that ability. And that I'm proud and happy to refer to them as a sponsor in what they contribute.
Yeah, Councilmember Fisher.
I agree. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. Greenstone's an outstanding contribution to this city. This city is Greenstone. And they do beautiful work. We've been beautiful partners for 25 plus years. And I 100% support them. And although the city pays for it, it's a beautiful partnership. And this city wouldn't be Liberty Lake without Greenstone, period.
Right, Councilmember Klingler.
We don't pay Greenstone for their liaising between the.
No, no.
Yeah, I have to echo, I mean, I don't think that Liberty Lake's name needs to be top billing in this situation when they're providing such a great service. And we already don't want to be in the business of contracting for this service, so. Yeah, and Greenstone is, and continues to make, wonderful contributions.
Okay, anybody else before we get back to Councilmember Ball? Councilmember Darrow? Anything? Okay, Councilmember Ball.
So I would just like to comment on what you just said, Arlene. Greenstone is not the city, the people are. The
Okay.
people who
Okay,
live
we,
here.
we are not doing this.
Okay.
Okay. We need to, these needs need to be respectful. That's,
Well, I wasn't being
Okay,
disrespectful.
I'm gonna stop this. Okay, there's no crosstalk. This is not a discussion between council members. It's about a topic, and we're not gonna get into those kind of comments. All right, is there any other comments on this topic? All right, those in favor of approving the Greenstone, the 3-year agreement with the Greenstone Foundation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. All right,
Madam Mayor, I move formally item general business 11F, approve funding recommendations from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for 2026.
Second.
okay, motion is second by Councilmember Severs. Okay, I think we had Councilmember Fisher first, then Councilmember Kurtz.
I just want to give recognition to Mandy Drossenheller. She's I think I've said her name wrong. I apologize. She's the manager of Washington Trust Bank. And she's been doing this for many, many years. And, it does take a village, and Rotary and the community of Liberty Lake. Rich and I did the Spokane Spokes event. Rich, what do we do? The Spokane Spoke event? Bike swap. Thank you. And we were representing Liberty Lake and Rotary, and it was just amazing how many people, especially the kids, absolutely come to town for this race. So if there's one event in Liberty Lake that brings a lot of people and put heads in beds for our hotel tax, this is it. So I just want to thank everyone for this. It's a great opportunity.
Great. Councilmember Kurtz.
So my question was on one of the specific applications, and so I'm guessing my question might be for Linda as the person. And then maybe for somebody else, but I'm not sure who. So my specific question was on the Visit Spokane proposal and the amount of funding requested. And I'm trying to scroll back through. I think the amount of funding requested was 76,000, and I think the amount offered was 58, if I remember right. 57, thank you.
Yeah.
My question is, it seems like what they are proposing to do for this is what we pay for, or what they've said that we pay for and given to us in what we pay them every year. The video promotions and stuff. Are you my person?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So there are two separate revenue streams. So the TPA is Fund 117 in our budget. That's a $2 nightly fee. And so that's towards the larger regional effort, of which Liberty Lake is included, but it's also City of Spokane, probably Cheney, Airway Heights, Medical Lake, and Millwood. Spokane Valley does not participate in that, I don't believe. So So we are included in that larger effort with that revenue source. This one is that separate. This is obviously the 2% charge on nightly rates. So this is a separate bucket of money that they are doing a targeted tourism campaign for the Liberty Lake Farmers Market and a couple of other things.
I think the line item in the grid is a little misleading. You need to look at the actual application to get a little bit more detail on what they're
Sure.
doing. Because it looks like in the grid that it's just for around the farmer's market, but there's more to it than that.
Right.
That helps.
Well, and I think I was looking at the application itself and the marketing, and that it was specific to one project, but the Zephyr Lodge. Am I?
There, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, so that was a portion of it, but the larger ask was for targeted funds towards a photo and video collection for the Liberty Lake Farmers Market and the Zephyr Lodge.
Okay, so I missed the part about the farmer's market.
Yeah,
That's my, okay,
sure.
all right.
Yeah, and they're also still doing some targeted things with our local businesses as
Yeah.
well, and they
Okay.
share that collateral. Visit Spokane didn't always do that, but they are, whatever they produce, they're actually giving to the businesses to
Yes.
use themselves.
And the way I read it, which appears to be wrong, was that
Yeah.
it was gonna be, they were asking for this money, $57,000 to do just one project. And so that was my beef.
Yeah,
So,
no.
okay, great.
Great question.
Sure.
Great question. Anybody else on this one? All right, those in favor of approving the funding recommendations from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes 7-0. And it's really good to finally have more applications than money. I mean, I hate to have to reduce it, but I know we've been struggling in the past for applicants. So this is a sign of the times. This is great. And as we have more hotels coming on board, it'll just increase that funding. All right. I think that's all our action items.
That's it.
Yep, okay. Just want to make sure I hadn't missed anything. All right, we're up to council comments. Anything additional? Tonight, Councilmember Klingler.
I just wanted to, and I think everybody knows this already, but we can have, strong statements and opinions. But one of the things that we agreed to as a council is that we would initially assume good intent. And I think that if we remind ourselves of that and we have that as our governing principle, then we won't, go awry. So
Thank you.
I just want to throw that back out.
Better put than I did. Thank you. All right, any other council comments? All right, quick note, I will not be here at the next regular meeting. I'll be in DC for my day job. So Mayor Pro Tem will be running that meeting. We don't have any public hearings or appeals. We have no resolutions. We do have a first read ordinance for the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space and Trails Plan. Rochelle, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 219A, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, repealing Ordinance 219, updating the Park, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Plan.
All right, so as our first read, we'll have again, as Jen said, you'll have some time between now and the next meeting to do some more deep dive into the material, and then we will have the second read at the next meeting. We have no emergency ordinances. Next up is our introduction of upcoming meeting agenda items. We've got your spreadsheet on your desk. We have the special meeting on May 12th, next week. For the governance manual, we got the review draft of the comprehensive plan, as well as the public safety sales tax ballot measure for and against committees. And then as we know, we'll have the second read ordinance come back on the Parks and Open Space. So we have a couple things scheduled after that. And then we, as I said at the last meeting, we're soon going to get into budget season. So, but please don't let summer go too fast, everybody. I know it has not started.
I looked over at her.
I'm here.
What?
All right, so, sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Kurt.
My question for, two questions. One is for next week with the governance manual. I'm assuming that Mark's gonna remind us of what we need to be prepared to talk about and read before next week.
Yes, we will get some information out to you. And just as a verbal reminder here, the list that we initially started working through was only a portion of the manual. So once we get through those last remaining, I think it's 3 chapters, we'll have the other chapters, which just on their face were not huge changes to begin with, number one, or introduction of new content. So those should go fairly routinely, I would expect, although we welcome all the discussion that could be had. But yes, we will get you some information.
And then, when can we get social media on?
Something like that.
127.
Oh, sorry.
Let's get the governance manual so we can figure out exactly what that looks like, and then I can give you a better idea of what that will look like overall.
Thank you.
Could we put on like TBD somewhere?
Sure.
On,
I think
would that be all right?
Sorry.
It's already
on
on
page
there.
two.
And page two.
Yeah.
I'm not reading well today.
That's okay.
There it is.
Perfect. All right. Next up, we have citizen comments. We do have one in chambers. If there's anybody left in chambers who'd like to make a citizen comment, have these little half sheets to fill out. Please introduce yourself and let us know if you live in the city limits. In the meantime, before we get started, if there's anybody online who'd like to make a citizen comment, please shoot a note to our meeting host. A reminder, time limit's 3 minutes. Comments only if we need to follow up with you. We have your email. We can do that. Oh, you're
Sue
up.
Hamblett. I am a citizen of Liberty Lake, and I'm also part of the Friends of the Library. Coming up, we have our 2 big fundraisers. We are like the booster club for the library. That's how everybody goes, "Oh, you guys," we're the booster club. And so we have our big fundraiser book sale coming up June 19th and the 20th. If you come on the 19th, and you come when we first open, you'll be taking the line around the library because it's a biggie. But we also piggyback with the Kiwanis and their
The yard sale.
yard sale. Yes, because they come into town for the yard sale, so they see us and they go, "Oh yeah, books." And then July 15th is the soiree, the summer soiree, and this year, thanks to the hotel tax, we're going to have a big tent. So there's lots of shade. There'll be more tables and people won't have to play musical chairs when they get up and get their food. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody online? Okay, all right, so we have no more citizen comments. We do have an executive session per RCW 42.30.110(1) whatever. With regards to potential litigation, there will be no decisions made in executive session. About how much time do we need? Mark, how much time?
Sean, do you think 15 or 20
Well,
is?
let's go with,
15
let's go with 15 minutes.
Like-
Let's try 15.
Then, so we will plan on, so let's give a couple minutes for transition. We'd be back at 8:40. We will adjourn at that point. If we have to extend, we will let you know. But there will be no decisions, so no need to stick around unless you really want to. Thanks, everybody. We'll meet in the conference room in about 3 minutes.
The mayor has requested 5 more minutes. The mayor has requested an additional 5 minutes.
That's cool.
Hi, everybody. We are back from executive session. Sorry for the couple of extensions. There were no decisions made and there's no further business before the council, so we are adjourning at 8:50. Have a great night.